Well, I never said blue.
You did say blue.
I didn't say blue.
You said blue
He
watermelon.
said blue. I said different colors.
Unbelievably stupid.
See, we could have talked about that. That would have gotten going.
You absolute idiot.
So, since there's no sports on, we're going to talk about the color of watermelon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the lunch table. My name's Evan, and today I'm joined with Zach and Nick. And today we're going to be talking a little bit of NBA Finals for you guys, giving our top 5 off seasons in the NFL, and we're talking about contenders versus pretenders in the NFL. So yeah, but before we begin, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at lunchtable.takes, and we'll head straight into it. First off, talking about the NBA Finals. Game 1 happened on Thursday, and Game 2 happens tomorrow as we're recording this on Saturday. Today's Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. The game starts Sunday, which is tomorrow.
You said Monday, though.
I fixed it. Sunday. Starts on Sunday, which is tomorrow. I'm not. Yeah, so the Nuggets won the first game. They're up 1-0. They beat the Heat pretty handily. Nick, what were your thoughts on Game 1?
Yeah. What was the final score? Like 104-93 or something along those lines?
It ended up being like a 10-point game, I think.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, but it was basically a blowout.
Yeah.
It was a blowout, but I don't know, man. The Heat brought it back at the end. They kept coming back though.
The final score
It
doesn't.
was 104-93.
Yeah. The final score doesn't really indicate how bad Denver beat Miami in this game. Miami just couldn't hit their outside shots for the entirety of Game 1 until the fourth quarter. And then by the time they started falling, it was too little too late. Jokic with a patented triple-double is not even surprising anymore, which is crazy to say. Jamal Murray had another great game. Aaron Gordon played fantastic. It's just... I don't even think Denver played that well defensively. I think Miami just wasn't hitting their outside shots. So I'm not ready to say this series is over. But it's very clear that there's one team significantly better, at least on paper, talent-wise, than the other. And Miami's going to have to make some real adjustments for the rest of the series, or else it might be over quick.
I mean, the Celtics were better than the Heat on paper too. So
Yeah, but I don't think Michael Malone's a bad head coach.
yeah,
I don't think Michael Malone's going to get out-coached the way Joe Mazzulla did for 80% of that series.
But the Heat seem to be pretty feisty though. So. And I think if they're hitting their shots, I think that
They could keep close.
Yeah, for sure. They could. They could win. I mean, I don't know if they could win the series, but they could steal a game or two if they're hitting their shots for sure. Because, like you said, once they started hitting them in the fourth quarter, they brought it back. I mean, I think it was within 8 points at one point.
Yeah, it was an 8-point game with 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
or something.
that's a good.
It might have been less than that. It was 3 minutes.
That's a fair spot to be in, But I think what I've noticed from watching the Heat the past two rounds is that if they're not hitting their shots, they're really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
They live and die by their shooting. And
Which is not really what you want unless you have Curry and Clay.
Yeah.
But if they're hitting their shots, then they're good. But I feel like if they're hitting their shots, they could either win by 20 or I guess it could be close. But if they're not hitting their shots, they're gonna lose by 20.
Max Strus and Caleb Martin played awful in
Yeah.
Game 1. They kind of showed why they're undrafted.
Yeah.
But they got to step it up the rest of the series. Bam actually had a really good game offensively. I think Jimmy Butler's got to attack the basket and the rim more, try to get Jokic in more foul trouble, though Jokic is so good at avoiding that.
He only had, what was it,
2 fouls.
Or something? He didn't...
Jokic, his points...
He had 5 points at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
he definitely
But he had
10
10 assists and 10 boards.
Yeah.
And he padded it in the
He
second
definitely
half,
padded his point total towards the end of the
going
fourth
into
quarter.
halftime, I was kind of oh, they're actually holding him in check.
Yeah. I mean, he shot 3 shots and was 2 for 3.
Yeah.
something
He
like
finished
that.
with 27, 10, and 14.
His
Yeah,
dunk
27,
in the second half,
27,
whatever.
10, and 14.
Yeah. He had 6 assists in the first quarter or whatever it was. I think he had 13 of his 27 in the fourth.
Yeah.
So, But I mean, it still doesn't really matter. I don't think I saw him do one play in that entire game that was bad. So when you control a game as much as he does night in, night out, you can score 4 points. And if your team's winning, there's not many people that are going to be complaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big key for this game was how bad like the undrafted players played for Miami. Like Caleb Martin should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He went 1 for 7 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and had 3 points. We have Max Strus, who is the only reason he's really on the court is to shoot threes. He went 0 for 9 from 3 and didn't score a single point. And then Duncan Robinson was 1 for 5 from 3 and had 3 points as well. And then, like you said, Jimmy was not very like aggressive this game. And I feel like really the last 2 or 3 games, Jimmy's been like a shell of himself in this entire since he's throughout the playoffs.
He played well in Game 7 against the Celtics.
Yeah, but he wasn't like
He wasn't. He did at the beginning.
Yeah, like he wasn't like.
But however, in light of how god awful the Heat played, they still only lost by 11. Like that's.
I don't
yeah,
think it
well,
shows
but they were
how
down.
bad. They were down.
They
by
might not
20
show
going
it,
into
but
fourth.
I'm just saying the scoreboard. Like they only lost by 11.
They were down by 20 at one point.
I mean, they came back.
It was mainly because of Gabe Vincent and Bam. I mean, Bam played probably the best game he's played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This
Like I'm just saying, if they like,
26.
don't play like dog crap, like it could be a good game. Like they played horribly until the fourth quarter.
They did not shoot the ball well at all.
Yeah,
the first 3
and they
quarters.
only lost
They shot 33% from the 3-point and 40% from the field as a team.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done against a Denver team that's shooting almost 60% from
Yeah.
the field. It seems like they just don't miss their open shots.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Nuggets team is pretty good though. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like we said this last podcast, but when we discussed like the potential matchup of this finals is it's going to be real tough for the Heat to find anyone to guard Jokic because I mean Bam, he's one of the best like interior
Defensive centers in the
defenders.
league.
Yeah, but but then he's going up against the best offensive center in the league. And, I mean, Jokic probably has 40, 50 pounds on him, so that eliminates that. And they put Cody Zeller on him for a couple minutes.
That was not the answer.
I literally saw Cody Zeller just get shoved into the second row of crowds and got an and one. So that obviously doesn't work. So they really didn't have much of an answer for Jokic. And I think the Nuggets' size is definitely like a big problem because you have Aaron Gordon, who like the first quarter was amazing.
He was bullying Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
that entire first
he was just
quarter.
destroying Jimmy Butler. He ended up with 16. Then you got Michael Porter, who was 6'10" shooter. He ended up with 14. And then obviously their catalyst by Jokic, who had 27, 10, and 14. And then, I mean, not even talking about like a tall dude like Jamal Murray has just been unbelievable in these playoffs.
Yeah.
He finished with 26, 10, and 6, and I mean he's shooting lights out. And I think this looked like a team that had a week of rest versus a team that just came off of Game 7. That's what this game was.
Yeah, I've been saying that. I was like, because I was talking to you guys and a bunch of people. I was like, do you all really think the Celtics or the Heat have a chance in beating Denver in a 7-game series? And I was like, if Miami had closed it out in 4 or 5 games and gotten that like week's worth of rest, I think their defensive intensity could have posed some legitimate issues for Denver. But I think Miami's just going to run out of gas.
Yeah, I think so too.
They've been playing a lot of games.
Yeah. And Denver, that home court advantage for Denver is real. You come off a 7-game series and have to go to the altitude of Denver. It's real. It affects players greatly. I don't know how much Miami's got left in the tank to make this series truly competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets are just the better team overall. They're favored to win like pretty highly.
Yeah.
I think I read it was like third.
They were like the 3rd biggest favorites in NBA Finals history or something. Like on paper, the Nuggets should smoke Miami.
Yeah, so they're pretty high favorites, and I mean they played like that here this first Game 1. So, my question to you guys is, if the Nuggets do end up winning this series in however many games, and Jokic continues what he's been doing this playoff run, which has been nothing short of just insane.
Historic.
Yeah. which honestly to me doesn't even feel like it because I feel like I'm just used to him casually putting up a 30-point triple-double. But when you look at it like from a statistical, like in history stat point, like that's never been done before, and it's insane. But do you think if the Nuggets do end up winning the championship, do you think Jokic is the best player in the NBA?
I think he's already the best player in the NBA.
Yeah,
I don't think it's close either. I get Embiid won the MVP, but Embiid has had a history of disappearing and not being healthy come playoff time. And we were like, if this is a year he's going to change that narrative, or if there's a year he's going to change that narrative, it's going to be this year, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He was a complete no-show in Game 7. He missed time in the Brooklyn series, although they didn't really need him. I think Jokic is one of the best offensive players we've ever seen. I think he's a center version of Larry Bird, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
For everyone that's having to go up against him on a night in, night out. Like, Anthony Davis is one of the best interior defenders of his generation, and Nikola Jokic made him look like a high schooler. He averaged a triple-double in that entire series. I don't think it's particularly close either. And that's all I really say. I don't think he needs to win this championship to solidify that.
Yeah, he might be, but I don't know. You got guys like Giannis.
Giannis is, I don't want to say useless in a half-court offense, but he can't shoot.
Yeah.
He can't really pass. He can't really dribble. Like, he just uses his brute force. He dominates people with his physical attributes that hasn't been seen since, like, peak Shaq.
Yeah.
Like, he quite literally bullies his way to the paint. He's pretty good.
And then you got Curry and LeBron and guys like that still.
I still think Jokic is more dynamic offensively than any of those guys right now. Like, the things Jokic is doing right now, like, I've said this repeated for months now, but the things he's doing right now, there are very few players in NBA history, let alone centers, that are doing what he's doing currently. In the biggest stage, in the highest amount of pressure possible that you can put on an NBA player, like, he's just toying with these people.
His name is
Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. I mean, in the playoffs so far, he's averaging 30 points, 10 assists, and 13 rebounds.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, he's
been incredibly efficient, too.
Yeah, shooting almost 60% from the field and 48% from three.
That's absurd.
I don't know how he's making all those shots.
That is
with his
absurd.
form. He brings it back here and just chucks it.
He shoots it like
I don't
Larry
understand
Bird
how he
does. He's got a Larry Bird shot.
Yeah, I guess you could probably say
It's
things like
absolutely absurd what he is doing right now.
that. Yeah. Me and Lucas don't really like him.
Yeah, you and Lucas
No,
are
you
big
don't.
Jokic haters.
Not a big fan.
Yeah. I'm a big Jokic fan
Don't
for
really know
personal
why,
reasons,
but I'm just
but
not a huge fan of him. I don't really have any reason to.
Still.
mad because bad. But yeah, I don't think Jokic needs to win this championship. I think the better question is, if Denver closes out this run and Jokic keeps putting up the stats he's doing, where would you put Jokic's like run in terms of all time?
Like this playoff run?
Yeah, like this playoff run.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that, like, he's been, like, better than, like, guys like Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, like, some pretty big-name guys.
I think you can put this playoff run up there for sure.
Yeah. Just because of the
They
pure...
dominated every round.
Yeah, the pure statistical dominance. Like, they beat Minnesota in 5. He dominated Cat. They beat Phoenix in 6, but it never really felt close. Like, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker had to go nuclear for them to win 2 games, and then they embarrassed Phoenix on their home court. So, like, they swept the Lakers. That was probably actually the hardest series just because every game was so close.
Yeah, but they still swept.
Yeah, they still swept them. And then this series,
And it's looking good against the Heat.
Yeah, they started lights out, so we'll see.
Yeah, one thing I saw somebody say, which I don't agree with this, but he was saying if you look at, like, the teams that the Nuggets have had to play this playoffs, so they played play-in team, you play a play-in team in the Timberwolves, then you play the Suns, then you play another play-in team in the Lakers, and then now you're playing another play-in team in the Heat. So basically he was saying they played 3 play-in teams on this, like, finals run. But I I argue with that, where all of the teams that they played except Minnesota were all pretty well-rounded and good teams that most of us weren't surprised that they were where they were.
Like, we had the Lakers going to the Western Conference Finals.
And like we said,
we expected them to be there.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't have Miami winning, but I mean, Miami just a year ago was right in the same situation.
Eastern Conference
so
Finals,
I wasn't completely shocked.
Not shocked at all by either of those two teams.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like if you look, like people will look at that maybe 10 years from now and be like, oh, like the Nuggets just had like a cakewalk to the finals. But if you like,
really.
But if you really look at it like team wise, like I feel like it's not. Well, if you say the Nuggets played 3 play-in teams,
yeah, but you have to look at the teams that they played.
Yeah,
and here's the thing:
say they played 3 play-in teams.
The Nuggets
they beat the Warriors.
The Nuggets are the 1 seed in the West.
Yeah.
Like, they automatically play a play-in team
know.
because they earn that privilege by being the best team in the conference.
Yeah,
in
but
the regular season.
Yeah, but usually like it's pretty unheard of for you to roll through 3 play-in teams.
I can see what they're saying, but I don't think that's...
I don't agree with it, but that was just something said, and I thought it was
If the series were close, I think that argument would hold a little bit of merit. But the Nuggets have dominated almost every single game.
The Suns in 6, like that's like you said.
It didn't feel like 6 at all.
They pretty much dominated everybody who played.
Yeah. It's just I saw some dude say something about that. I was like, huh.
Also, give Jamal Murray his flowers, because I get the whole storylines on Jokic, but Jamal Murray is playing like, I'm not kidding, statistically like close to prime MJ in the playoffs in terms of efficiency on the floor. This playoff run.
I mean, he's definitely proving that, like, when he's fully healthy, like, he's one of those, like, playoff performer guys. Like, one of the guys who will turn it up in the playoffs, like Jimmy Butler, like Michael Jordan, like LeBron, all these guys.
I'll address this because I know Lucas will. Lucas says that Jamal Murray is the reason why they, like, are winning as much as they are. Just because when it comes down to, like, big boy time, he's kind of the one taking the shots to close out the games and hitting them. Yeah. But without Jokic in there, the Nuggets' offense just runs completely differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 2-man game between Jokic and Murray is amazing. I mean, they do a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of pick and pops, a lot of pick and rolls, and Jokic demands so much attention that it leaves Murray wide open. Like, there's been plays where they do a dribble handoff, and like Jokic will kind of peel out, and both the defenders will go with Jokic, and the same thing with Murray that happened in this last game. Murray came off of a screen from Jokic, and both defenders went with him, and he like jumped up and passed it to a wide open Jokic for a deep 3. So like their 2-man game is just so good because they're both prolific scorers. Jokic is such a good playmaker that he can make plays happen. That I mean, their offense right now is just kind of pick and rolls and dribble handoffs off of those 2 guys, and it's working great because, I mean, that's just how good both of them are. And one thing that I heard was, so the Heat, they like to play zone, and they played a little bit of zone against the Celtics, but somebody was arguing, well, like, if they can't stop man-to-man, like, should they switch to zone? But then you think, like, if you're going to switch to zone, the worst person to do that against is Nikola Jokic, because he's the best passer in the NBA at his position, maybe even in the NBA as a whole. Yeah. And, like, that's just not going to work, which takes a whole, like, different thing out of Miami, because that's what they would do when they were getting down. They went to a zone, switch it up on teams, and then that kind of would put them up in, like, a little bit of a frenzy. Like, that's what happened to the Celtics. They struggled with the zone because not many teams in the NBA really do that. But with Jokic, if you go to a zone, like, you're destroying any hopes of coming back.
If you put 2 people on him, he'll find the open guy. If you leave him one-on-one, he'll just shoot over you.
Yeah.
Or bully you in the paint. Like,
yeah, there's really not too much that you can really do. But yeah, I mean, this run is nothing. It's truly just remarkable, and it's definitely a historic run that I think is just really good.
Just really good.
Just really good. Yeah. One thing before we move on to the NFL stuff, I want to go over with you, Nick, pretty briefly was now that the NBA is coming to a close, there's been a lot of head coaches move in and out, and there's been a couple pretty big ones here in the last couple of days. Just want to get your just quick thoughts on them. So first off, the Pistons, they obviously fired Dwayne Casey, and they just signed Monty Williams to a deal, which is the biggest head coaching deal.
Good deal.
Like ever. He has the highest paid, and so I just quick thoughts on the Monty Williams hire for the Pistons.
I think it's a good hire. I think Monty Williams was kind of disrespected in Phoenix. I think NBA coaches as a whole kind of get disrespected.
Yeah, they definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I think Budenholzer, like, I get he won the title in Milwaukee a couple years back, but I think it was his time because apart from that 1 year, he just made a bunch of tactical, like, errors. It's like, why aren't you calling timeouts? Why don't you make this rotation? So I can kind of agree with that. I still think he's a good head coach, but I think in Milwaukee his time was kind of up, especially after this historic meltdown.
I love that Monty Williams.
Yeah, I think that
He's a
Monty
great
Williams hire
coach.
is really
Yeah.
good.
I don't know
for
why
Denver.
the Suns fired him. I think the
Denver,
Suns are
Detroit.
freaking morons for firing him, honestly.
Yeah.
The Detroit, I think the Pistons are heading in a good direction.
Absolutely.
Just with that hire.
Yeah, I mean, they already got like that core of guys. They got Cade, Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
Then they have a top 5 pick. They have the 5th pick this year. I mean, like you said, they're heading in the right direction.
I think the Pistons were like, we'll take this guy. Like
you're
I
firing
don't know
him?
why the heck the Suns fired him.
Yeah. Well, originally, like he had declined their offer because he wanted to like coach a contender.
Yeah.
But then I think they just bumped the money up, and he was like, "All right, I
I
can't turn down like 5-year, like $60 million."
It was like $70 million.
Yeah, something like that. He couldn't turn that down.
I think that's a great
and
hire
I mean,
for
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, I think it shows that Detroit, like, they tanked this year, obviously. I think that like this hiring shows like, all right, Detroit's like after this, like they're gonna try it. They're going to try to actually compete, and I think they will compete. I think Monty is going to be a great coach for Cade and Ivy and whoever they draft at 5, whoever that ends up being. And I mean, they've been these last couple of years have been putting a really good roster around, and a lot of people have said like, "Hey, watch out for the Pistons, watch out for the Pistons."
They're coming.
And now with Monty Williams, I think they're coming. So I really love that hire. Another one was the Milwaukee Bucks. Budenholzer, like you said, he got fired, and they hired Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin to their team. So what did you think of that one?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know a ton about Adrian Griffin.
Yeah, I mean, he was an assistant. So
Yeah.
not a whole lot either.
So like, I mean, I think it was like I said earlier. It was time for them to move on from Budenholzer because he made a ton of tactical mistakes. Didn't the Raptors fire their head coach?
Yeah, they fired Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna take Nick Nurse. I didn't think they were gonna settle for an assistant, especially on a team that didn't really perform super well this season. I thought they were gonna go for like Nick Nurse or someone like that. I think that would have been a better hire. But
I think they were trying to.
Yeah, I don't think he's a terrible hire, but I just don't know enough about him to know what direction Milwaukee's gonna go. But I feel like as long as they have Giannis, they'll be contending in the East. So.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Raptors are one of those like they like good coaching trees, kind of how like the Spurs are. Like most people who come from like the Raptors are decent head coaches. So I think it's good. But like I don't, like you said, I'm not super familiar with the name, but I think it was Budenholzer. I think it was time for him to go, especially after that embarrassing first round. I think you got to put the blame on the coach just because that's usually who the scapegoat is in those situations. But yeah. Speaking of Nick Nurse, he went to the Philadelphia 76ers because they fired Doc Rivers. What did you think of that?
I think could work out if Harden. I think Harden already said he's going to leave.
Yeah, he's going to the Rockets.
Yeah,
like more than likely.
He's going to the Rockets.
More than likely.
I think that would have been a lot better had Harden and Embiid both stayed.
Yeah.
Just because Nick Nurse is a title-winning coach, he's got a proven track record in the NBA.
He's very good offensive coach.
Yeah, very good offensive coach, and Embiid and Harden have their biggest strengths offensively. So I feel like he could have gotten more out of them. I like that hire for Philadelphia. I just don't know what direction the Sixers are going to go.
Yeah.
This offseason. So I think I'll have a better stance on it once the offseason kind of wraps up and they decide what they want to do with Embiid, Maxey, and whoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest question for the Sixers is do they like with them more than likely using Harden, you got Embiid still, you got Maxey, just what do you do to put a team around Embiid because him and Harden as a duo was
Embiid's definitely good enough to win you a title.
Yeah,
so
they just got to figure out what to do around him. But I think bringing in Nick Nurse is good. I think Doc Rivers, I think his time was ready for him to end.
His time should have ended after they lost to Atlanta. I don't know why they kept him past that.
Yeah, because I mean, if we look playoff success wise, other than 2008, he's been pretty bad. So, yeah, but I think it'd be a good hire. They swapped the doc for the nurse.
Ah, yes.
So anyways,
See if they
There
get
you
better
go.
results.
yeah. And then last one that's been reported was the Phoenix Suns. They obviously fired Monty Williams, and they just recently hired Frank Vogel, the former Lakers coach.
This is the one I saw. Was it this morning or was it like yesterday night?
I think it was either yesterday or today. I can't remember exactly.
I never thought Frank Vogel was a good head coach, even with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So I don't love the hire. I don't think Frank Vogel's a good head coach. And I think, yeah, I don't like it. I don't think there were a ton of good options, like you said. Monty Williams, they just fired Monty Williams. I don't know why they did that.
You can't really get much better than Monty
You
Williams.
can't really get much better
That
than Monty
made no
Williams.
sense at all.
Spolstro's not on the table. Like Michael Malone's not on the table. Like I don't know why they fired Monty Williams. I don't think Frank Vogel is an upgrade, and I think a bigger thing we have to talk about is this is going to be Kevin Durant's fourth head coach he's played under in less than 2 years.
It's crazy.
Like
that's true.
There's no sense of continuity with him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
It's not his fault, but if these teams are trading for Kevin Durant to win rings, and then they don't give the best player on the team and a top 5 player of this generation a support system to help them win rings.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to have some semblance of a identity and a direction that lasts longer than 2 seasons.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I've noticed that too. Everywhere he goes, it's just a
The
different
head coach is just gone, apart from Golden State.
Yeah. Well, they won 2 rings with him there, so obviously they're going to get rid of him.
That
But
was super. That's a different story for a different day. I could go on for hours about that, but
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I wasn't too happy with that pickup. Like you said, I don't think Vogel was really that outstanding of a head coach. I think the only reason that they won that in 2020 was because of LeBron and AD. I don't think he really did too much schematically. He is more of a defensive minded coach. So we'll see how that goes. But I think the biggest thing to note is the Suns kept their leading assistant, Kevin Young. They just made him the highest paid assistant in the NBA, which I think that's huge because he's he was getting a lot of head coaching buzz. He's a really smart offensive guy, so I think keeping him is going to be huge. But yeah, I think going from Monty Williams to Frank Vogel, I think is a big step.
definitely a downgrade.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We'll talk about the top 5 off seasons in the NFL with probably a couple honorable mentions. But as we're heading into OTAs here in the NFL, pretty much all the free agents have been picked up, or at least the major ones. The draft has been over for about over a month. Yeah. So everyone's kind of getting into the groove of the season. I think when it's 100 days or a little less than 100 days.
100 and some odd days, yeah.
When NFL starts back up again. So
mid-September.
Starts on my birthday.
Oh,
The NFL
okay.
season kicks off on my birthday.
Nice.
I didn't know that until 2 weeks ago.
You get to watch the Chiefs and the Lions on your birthday.
What a great birthday gift. Chiefs by 40.
Screw those guys, man.
But yeah, so we'll give our top 5 off seasons in the NFL this season. So, do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can
Go for
All
it.
right. I'll start. I'm not gonna say it in any particular 1 through 5 order because I honestly don't really, because we don't know yet. I'm just gonna list 5 that I liked. So I'll start off with my first one being the New York Jets. I think they made the biggest move in the offseason, trading for Aaron Rodgers, ending the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. I think that was the biggest overall move in this offseason. So I think you have to mention them. And plus, they brought in a couple more players. They brought in some good receivers. They brought in Alan Lazard. They brought in basically Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mecole Hardman. So yeah, I mean they really bolstered that offense more than it already was.
They also just had a lot of pieces already there.
Yeah. I mean, they had Breece Hall, who's gonna come back off of his injury. They have Garrett Wilson, who just won Rookie of the Year. Sauce won Rookie of the Year on the defense. They still have Quinnen Williams. So
Yeah, their defense was very good.
yeah, so I think them getting them getting Rodgers was, I think, the biggest move in the offseason and huge. And even if you look at the draft, they drafted Will McDonald in the first round, which I think was still a bit of a reach, but he's a good edge rusher. They got Joe Tippmann, who's a good center. They got Zach Kuntz really late, who's a very athletic tight end. They got a running back out of Pitt, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. So yeah, I think overall they had a pretty good offseason. They definitely upgraded the quarterback position, going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers.
That was really their
That's
main-
not
It's
too
night and
bad
day.
of an upgrade.
Yeah, it's night and day when you're talking about upgrades. So I think they have to be mentioned on one of the best off seasons this season.
Are you naming?
Are
we just taking turns?
I mean, do you have anything else to say about the Jets? Or?
no, I mean,
Well, I'm listing the Jets too.
yeah.
Okay,
The
I mean-
Jets have to be in the
Yeah.
top 5 for sure.
The Aaron Rodgers is, that in and of itself. Because, honestly, I said this last year with the Jets. I really felt like the Jets' only major hole was quarterback.
Well, we said that they were going to make the playoffs because of their quarterback. But
Well, that doesn't need to be said. But I think that, I remember watching the game when the Jets wore all black and Zach Wilson was just completely putrid. Just inhumanly bad.
yeah,
And
Inhumanly?
yeah, yeah.
Is that even a word?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up.
Look it up, man. I think it is.
Continue, but I'm looking up.
He was inhumanly bad. Inhuman's a word, I think. Anyways, whatever. He was really bad. And I remember saying, because they have so many pieces around him. They have Brees Hall, they have Garrett Wilson. Well, I guess they have another, or no, Elijah Moore left, didn't he? Well, they had
Elijah
him last
Moore.
year, but they replaced him with 3 other dudes that are just as good.
Yeah.
And then, defensively, obviously, we already settled these guys. But, I felt that even last year, I felt that the Jets, if they had a good quarterback, would have been a playoff team.
Could have won the AFC if they had a competent
No.
quarterback.
But they would have, won. They could have not won the division. They would have made the playoff. I don't think they would have won the AFC.
I said they could have, not they would have, but I definitely think they could.
I don't know.
I found
They could have been in the argument.
inhumanely is a word. It says a very cruel way showing no care for the pain or problems of other people or animals.
So he was inhumanely bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever you said.
He was just completely awful.
Yeah, Zach Wilson was really bad.
So, my point is, with them getting arguably a top 5 quarterback of all time, they should be AFC contenders, I would say. I would say AFC contender. Oh, if Aaron Rodgers plays like his normal self, if he plays like he did last year was a little shaky. But if he goes back to his MVP caliber, they should be right in there for the AFC contention. So I would also say the Jets.
Yeah, I'd put the Jets in the top
And
5.
I'm not even accounting for their draft either, because you said Will McDonald, I didn't really think that was a great pick. I'm just talking about.
No, yeah.
Their
biggest thing was
I feel like they didn't need to knock the draft out of the park. They knocked it out of the park 2 years ago.
Yeah,
the past 2 years.
Yeah, the Jets have a foundation for a mansion, and they just need a good architect to build it. And,
That's a good way of putting
and
it.
Aaron Rodgers is one, like you said, arguably top 5 quarterback of all time in terms of architects that were available. There's not much better that you can get.
Yeah.
You said the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. It wasn't really much of a sweepstakes.
He was going to New
It was
York.
Aaron
Well,
Rodgers said he
it
was
was-
going to the Jets.
He literally said, I want to go play for
I
the
meant
Jets.
by Aaron Rodgers wanted to be traded for the last
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, and now the Jets were the suitor.
It
That's
finally
fair.
happened.
That's a fair
Yeah.
way of putting it.
Yeah.
And like you said, if Aaron Rodgers plays close to MVP Aaron Rodgers, the Jets could win the AFC. If we're being full on honest with ourselves, they don't really have many other holes outside of quarterback. I think they're above average at almost.
I don't know
every
if their
other place.
O-line is really great, but I think it's good enough.
It's
If
definitely
their O line
sufficient.
is healthy,
Yeah.
that's the big problem. Like Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker,
Yeah,
they
which
haven't been fully healthy at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say Becton's had a history of injuries. I think, but so I would say their offensive line is really kind of their weak point. But even at that,
Now it is.
even at that though, it's still
Serviceable.
sufficient.
Yeah.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
So and I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers plays though.
But if Aaron Rodgers plays like he did last year, the Jets might be a fringe playoff team. Like with how good the AFC is, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play close to how he played in 2020, 2021, the Jets might not even make the playoffs.
I think they could be a possible wild card if Rodgers plays like that. But if Rodgers plays MVP caliber or like prime time,
They
Aaron
could
Rodgers
win the division and be AFC contenders.
Yeah,
without a doubt,
for sure. They could beat the Bills if Rodgers plays like that for sure.
Yeah,
that's going to be a fun one to watch.
I would, you have to put the Jets in there. They fixed one of their holes in the best way possible.
Yeah, I also was going to say the Bears. I kind of liked what the Bears did. I really liked Darnell Wright in the first round. I think he was a really good pick for the Bears. Get Justin Fields get him some protection. And I think they kind of robbed Carolina for DJ Moore. I think the Panthers gave up maybe a little more than they needed to for that first pick. So I think they got, Justin Fields got a wide receiver 1 now. So I don't really know like a lot of the defensive stuff they did. I know they got Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills.
They got Tremaine Edmonds. They got T.J. Edwards, I think. They spent a lot of money on their interior linebacking core.
Yeah, which is good. You want to get the front 7 right.
Yeah, so they brought in T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds. They brought in Robert Tonyan. They signed
Dante Foreman.
Yeah, and then obviously their big thing was the number 1 pick trade.
And DJ Moore, and then they got Darnell Wright. Yeah. So I like the Bears offseason. I don't really know if the Bears are really going to be that good still. They'll probably be about, at best, a mid-tier team, I would say. But I think they had a good offseason heading in the right direction. I do think it's getting to the time where I think we are going to be getting to the time where it's like, all right, is Justin Fields the guy?
Yeah.
I think like that question is going to be coming. I think it's going to be that time. But I think the Bears had a pretty good offseason.
I think if we're talking about who had the best offseason in terms of the amount of moves they made combined with what they got in return for what they did, I think the Bears had the best offseason in the NFL.
I liked the I think the Texans had a good offseason.
I think the Texans had a good offseason too, but the Bears got what?
The Bears got a bunch of draft capital,
Carolina's
too.
first rounder that year plus 2 firsts and DJ Moore.
Yeah, they got
I
number
think the
9,
Bears are in a really good
second, and then a first in 2024, and then a second in 2025.
Yeah, and then they fixed their linebacking core with Tremaine Edwards, Edmonds, and
T.J. Edwards.
They had a good offseason this year, and they're also set up for
future.
multiple good offseasons.
Definitely.
So.
And like you said, Robert Tonyan and Deontay Foreman. They fixed a lot of their needs on paper. But I think this is the year where the Justin Fields question needs to be answered.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially with this upcoming quarterback class.
Well, and just with the Bears actually do have some comparable players around him now, so
he's got a good enough supporting cast where results have to start showing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I do still think they're going to be like mid at best.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
If Justin Fields shows some progression, especially passing wise, and they go 8 and 9 or whatever.
I'm not saying 8 9. I'm thinking more like 7 and 10.
Yeah, 7 10, around 500 or whatever it is. Yeah. I think they should keep Justin Fields. If Justin Fields shows progression with his passing and his reads, and all that, becomes more of a Cam Newton type of guy instead of a Michael Vick with a worse arm. And worse pocket presence.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, like I said this last time, I think the Bears will move on from him. And I think they have to, considering
especially with this draft class.
This upcoming quarterback class is coming up. Caleb Williams, Drake May, and a bunch of other dudes.
If I had to guess, Caleb Williams is going to be a Buccaneer, though.
Well, yeah.
As it looks right now, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the Buccaneers are... It's going to be a battle between the Cardinals and the Buccaneers as to who's the worst team in the league, and I could see the Buccaneers going for Williams more than the Cardinals just because they had Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
But anyways, though.
That's a different story for a different day.
There's actually there's probably 2. I mentioned the Texans, but I won't go into depth about them.
We can talk about the Lions.
I think the
Lions, outside their draft, had a good offseason. I think they heavily fixed their secondary.
Yeah, I mean, Lions brought in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which was huge. They brought in David Montgomery to boost that running back room. I mean, that was basically their two bigger moves that they
Yeah,
made.
I personally don't think the Lions had a spectacular offseason. It wasn't bad by any means, but I don't really think it was anything. I don't think it was much to write home about. I was going to say the Eagles.
I think that Gardner Johnson pickup is huge. I
That-
was also
yeah.
going to say the Eagles.
Yeah, I just like the Eagles draft.
The
I
Eagles
just think
mainly
they
because of
got.
their draft.
I just think they got. I mean, ridiculous steals in the draft. I mean, their defensive line is
know
like
how the rest-
literally scary.
I don't know how the rest of the NFL keeps letting Howie Roseman get away with the things he gets away with, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to mention the Eagles. I mentioned the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, they re-signed Jalen Hurts. They brought in DeAndre Swift in that trade. And then,
Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. They got both of them.
They got Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter.
Like, what the
in first
heck?
round. That is absurd.
That's so dumb.
We've already done a first round or a draft grades podcast, but that's absolutely obscene.
Yes.
They got Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter.
I think the Eagles are up in the top 5 offseason wise just because of the draft. Like that alone, they have a
Yeah,
stupid.
I mean, if you look at
defensive
what their
line.
team was already and how much they added just through the draft, yeah, I would say
It's just an absurd defensive line, like literally unfair to other teams.
yeah, it's pretty freaking good.
I think the Giants had an all right offseason.
Yeah,
I just
had
don't
the Giants on my list.
I don't like the Daniel Jones deal.
Yeah, but they have to pay him, and they couldn't do.
They
I think
overpaid
40
so
mil is
bad.
too much, but
He is not that good.
yeah, 40 mil a year is too much, but they
Yeah.
kind of have to.
I
I
agree.
mean,
I
Saquon
agree with
Barkley,
that.
yeah. I mean,
But if you look at other than that, they franchise tagged Barkley. They brought in some wide receivers. They brought in, I think them getting Darren Waller is big.
I like
I
Jalen
think
Hyatt in
Them
the second round or
adding a
third
new
round.
tight end. Yeah, getting Jalen Hyatt a burner is huge as well. And then I mean, not even talking about their draft. If you look at the draft, they got Deontay Banks, Jalen Hyatt, John Michael Schmitz. I mean, they did really good the first 3 rounds. So outside of the Daniel Jones contract, I think they did pretty good.
Yeah.
So
And I think the Jalen Hyatt thing is going to be really helpful too because I don't think the Giants receiver room was really anything good at all.
it's all slot receivers.
Well, I guess that's kind of what Jalen Hyatt is too. I mean,
But Jalen Hyatt,
You take the top off
has,
the
yeah,
defense.
he's
Yeah.
got more top end.
yeah,
speed.
but so that was good, and then obviously the Darren Waller addition was huge. Get him another weapon because I feel like
their
the
starting
Giants'
tight end
weapons
was
were
Daniel Bellinger, who looks huge now, but he's really
jacked.
not that
yeah,
good.
but
now, but
the Giants' weapons outside of Saquon were so mediocre.
Yeah, they weren't good.
So that was good. And then, I mean, I think there's 2 more teams that you have to mention. I think the Colts are a team you got to talk about because I think the Colts had a spectacular. I think the Colts might have had the best draft in the NFL.
think
They walked away with, 13 guys? 12 guys?
and
Anthony Richardson.
I mean, Richardson,
Could
Brent,
be
Downs,
yeah.
Freeland, a Debuare,
Debuare.
Jalen Jones.
I think the Colts addressed just so many needs through this draft. I mean, obviously the biggest need was quarterback, but they got depth at so much. They brought in 12 guys. Like, that's a massive draft. There are 7 rounds.
Yeah.
And they brought in 12 guys.
And a lot of the guys that they picked, especially in the middle
Freak
rounds, were
athletes.
steals. Like Josh Downs in some plays was a projected
Yeah.
first rounder. Adebayor was a projected mid-second rounder. They got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about it ad nauseum. The only reason I didn't bring them up earlier is because we don't know how good these players are going to be.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, obviously all of this is just, like...
Hypothetically.
But, like, for right now, you got to mention the Colts just because of their draft. I don't even know what else they did, but outside of their draft. But their draft was,
like, their entire offseason was based on what are we going to do come April. When
and
the draft
they
comes around.
knocked the draft out for sure. They had a heck of a draft. And then, I mean, the last team that I'm going to mention is I do think the Bengals had a very good offseason. I think the Bengals addressed a lot of different needs, and I think they played it pretty well in the offseason cap-wise. And
You've had a change of heart since
Yeah, you have had a change of heart.
the.
well, not even as much about the draft, just more like I mean, yeah, the draft was good too, but I'm just talking about like what they did free agent wise too. I think they,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, then-
Orlando Brown, franchise left tackle, finally get Joe Burrow some protection. I think they did well with Jermaine Pratt, and I don't know much about Nick Scott, but hoping he can kind of step in.
Yeah.
I think they did well with letting guys go and getting other and retaining other. I think they played the whole game right. I think they had a good offseason.
No, yeah, I agree. I think them getting Orlando Brown was huge, and especially the way they structured that contract, where it doesn't have that big of a cap.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really big in the long run.
Yeah, and more so with the draft, just getting depth at positions and drafting for next year, drafting for the future.
Yeah, with
I
guys
think-
who also still could be
Yeah.
good this year, too.
I just think they played the game right this offseason. I just think, their GM, I think, just kind of is. I think he's just kind of playing his cards, and I think they did well. They didn't really have any outside of Orlando Brown. They didn't have any like splashing moves, but I just think that they made a lot of good moves. Though.
They did
Yeah,
what
I
they
agree.
had to in the secondary. Like they weren't keeping Von Bell, Jesse Bates. I think that is a
Von Bell. That one was kind of a blindside in my opinion.
I
thought he was
did
gonna come
wish
back.
they retained Pirine and Bell. But
Yeah, Von Bell is a bit of a blindside to me because personally, I thought he was going to come back for sure. But I mean,
they're-
outside, I mean, I'm not going to complain about it because I really do think that they did a very good job. Like they played the situation about as good as anybody. I think
for sure.
so. That would be who I would say off season wise.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned the Texans. We'll talk about them for a little bit.
Yeah, they had a good one.
They brought in Devin Singletary to help with that running back room with Damian Pierce. They brought in Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, re-signed Laramie Tunsil, brought in Shaq Mason at guard, who I think's good. And then, you look at their draft, they got their franchise quarterback in C.J. Stroud, who in OTAs has been doing really well, has been getting a lot of high praise from coaches and teammates. You bring in Will Anderson, which is huge as well. Tank Dell. I think overall body of work that they've done in the offseason, they've really rehauled this team. Yeah. I think they're still not going to be great, but they look a lot.
They're going to be a lot better.
They look a lot better
They
than they
actually
did.
have a foundation.
They're
for the
getting.
first time in
They're
about 4
definitely
years.
getting set. And I think we have to talk about their hire too. The Niners defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think that was a great hire.
Yeah.
I think the Texans are completely turning this franchise around. I think they are starting to head in a good direction now.
Yeah,
I really liked the Dalton Schultz edition. I felt that he was a good tight end for Dallas.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
They
Addition.
went from Brevin Jordan to Dalton Schultz, pretty big.
I
jump.
liked that, and obviously Stroud was a great pick, obviously, and Will Anderson. Getting those two guys back to back was just absolute knockout of the park. But I mean, honestly, my favorite move of the offseason outside of Stroud almost might be the head coach. I think that was a great hire.
Yeah. No,
I mean, we saw what he did with the Niners. Now, I mean, the Niners defense did also have the likes of Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, but that was the best defense in the NFL
Yeah, I don't think it was close
for like
particularly
multiple
either.
years.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought personally that was a very good hire. Hopefully, that ages well.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was a great hire too.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best head coaching hire in terms of like across the league.
I would say so.
I'd
this
say,
offseason
yeah.
for
Fit
sure.
and scheme. I thought that was a fantastic
Yeah.
hire for Houston, and I hate saying that because I have to deal with him twice a year. But that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Hey, but at least you kind of have it easy with that Titans quarterback room.
We'll see. I can guarantee you, Derrick Henry will run for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, but you aren't going to get past for 250 yards on.
Will Levis might turn out to be the second coming of Steve Young, and I will cry.
I mean, it's always possible, but based on the video that I saw of him in practice, I don't think so.
We'll see. It's very,
Well,
very early.
there have been a lot of players that they knock in OT. Like they literally said, Jamar Chase couldn't catch a football.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
and then he went out
Never
and-
forget when
and broke
they
every
were already
rookie
calling Jamar Chase
receiving
a bust.
record ever.
That's
and
true,
so-
I guess.
So you can't overreact too much. But I mean,
You're right, you're right.
we've said this for months now. None of us are high on Will Levis, and I mean, their quarterback room is Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, and
That's
Will Levis.
so
And
bad.
I mean, the good one, the best out of there is Ryan Tannehill, who I mean, last time I saw him play meaningful football threw 3 picks against the Bengals. So it's not really much in that quarterback room. No. Another team that doesn't have really much of a quarterback is the Falcons. They got Desmond Ridder now, but I think outside of that, I think they had a good offseason, bringing in Jesse Bates, bringing in Jeff Okudah on a steal of a trade, I would say, bringing in Calais Campbell, re-signing Chris Lindstrom, drafting Bijan Robinson, bringing in Matthew Bergeron in the draft, Zach Harrison, Clark Phillips. I think they did pretty well with what they got. They definitely bolstered the secondary. They brought in another running back.
Yeah, I was going to say
who was one of the best running backs we've seen in a long time. We'll see if he warranted a top 10 selection, but yeah, I think overall, I think the Falcons did a lot, and I think they really helped their team. I think they just need to find a quarterback now.
Yeah, they definitely.
And I still think they need to get rid of their coach because he doesn't like throwing at Kyle Pitts, which makes no sense
he
to
doesn't.
me.
They definitely aggressively hit the defensive back room, which is
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
And obviously Bijan Robinson, like
could completely transform that offense.
Yeah,
season.
and like most people are saying, he should be like a top 5 fantasy pick. So he's going to get a lot of touches, and especially with that Arthur's, which I agree. I don't know why he is still the head coach of that football team, but he is for some unknown reason. He runs the ball a lot, so that'll fit Bijan well. But dude, honestly, I think that is the biggest thing, other than getting a quarterback for the Falcons. I truly think the biggest thing is getting rid of him. I think he is a awful coach.
Yeah, I agree.
They have a generational tight end talent. We have never
drafted Kyle Pitts, who's a freak of nature.
We have never seen talent like that at the tight end position ever.
Yeah, and
They just don't utilize him.
And he has 2 touchdowns in his first 2 years.
Yeah,
Like
really bad.
and
it's not like he's been hurt. He's been
No, he's been fully healthy. They just haven't used him.
Arthur Smith, I personally think, is one of the worst coaches in the NFL.
probably right now. Probably now.
I think Arthur Smith should be gone immediately. I don't know why he's.
I don't know if Kyle Pitts fits what he wants to do. But
Why is he there? Why did they draft him then?
Guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
like,
You can't really not draft him.
if you aren't going to use him, then why?
I think they were expecting to use him.
Yeah.
Or not.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. That kind of burns my britches.
I get they want to be more of a run-first team with Arthur Smith, but like Kyle Pitts is a guy that you can throw it up and he could come down with it.
Kyle Pitts is 6'6", 250 pounds, runs a 4.4, and he's a tight end.
He's a freak.
Kyle Pitts, like, genuinely could be, like, as good as Travis Kelce, but, like, more athletic.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts could be a wide receiver 1.
Kyle Pitts is nasty.
He's almost the size
He
of,
was
like, T.
Florida's
Higgins.
wide receiver 1. He's bigger than T. Higgins. He's bigger and taller.
I know. T. Higgins is...
T. Higgins is like 6'5".
Yeah.
No, Kyle Pitts could legitimately be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And he's a tight end. Like,
that they don't use. That Atlanta just doesn't use in their passing
They
attack.
Dude,
run more in his
just
game.
think
Really
about
run
that.
more.
Yeah.
He's a tight end, and on half of the teams more than half of the teams in the NFL, he'd be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Like,
Some teams
Or he would be
be
the focal point of the offense.
Yeah.
on most teams in the NFL, he would be the
Absolutely.
focal point of the team.
Absolutely.
And the Falcons just completely disregard him as a piece on that team.
And it's like, why are you drafting him? If you're
That's
just
what
gonna
I don't know. And I mean, obviously, their quarterback room is putrid. Sorry, Desmond Ridder, UC guy, but he's not. The Falcons
see.
quarterback room is
He'll
just-
get an actual shot this year.
But even still, like
He's not their future.
No, he's not their future. The Falcons quarterback room is bad.
Yeah.
But like, you've got to use Kyle Pitts. Like, he is a freak. And yeah, I've ranted to you about this before. I don't know why Arthur Smith is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I
I
don't
didn't know you were
why.
this passionate about your hatred for Arthur Smith until right now.
But look at like
I think it's because
It's valid. It's valid.
why is he there? I don't understand why he's their coach.
I think he had Kyle Pitts in fantasy in one of our leagues.
Oh, I would do it.
For 1 year, I did. Yeah.
My dad's drafted Kyle Pitts back-to-back years.
Dude,
He
and that's the
ranted
thing.
to me about
Like,
it.
literally, the past 2 off seasons, every single like fantasy tight end board I see has Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and Kyle Pitts in that order.
Yeah.
And I mean, tight ends in fantasy, once you get past those first 2, it's a massive drop off, anyways.
Once you get past Kelsey, it's a massive drop-off.
Well, if Andrews is healthy, he's pretty
good.
too. But I mean, Kelsey, yeah. But like, every fantasy board ranks Kyle Pitts as 3, and I'm just like, that's just not valid at all. Like, there's probably four other tight ends that I would take before Kyle Pitts, just because of how stupid Arthur Smith is.
Yeah, and they don't give him the ball.
They don't use him.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why, like, if they get a quarterback and then they get a new head coach, like, Kyle Pitts could have a big breakout year.
and honestly, just with that, the Falcons could go from like, what were they, 7-10 to like legit NFC South contenders.
Because
Just
their
with that.
division's
Their
terrible.
division's so bad.
Yeah,
The
and
division's
if they
the
get a
Falcons, Panthers, Bucks, and Saints, which is all they're literally going.
By far the worst
They're
division
literally
in the
going up against Bryce Young, Bryce Young,
Baker Mayfield.
Baker
Carr,
Mayfield, and
Derek
Derek
Carr.
Carr. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's a god awful division, so there's no reason the Falcons shouldn't take that with their bolstered secondary and a generational tight end, like, and a generation, possibly a generational running back.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Not to mention you have Drake London too.
Yeah, and Drake. Like, Arthur Smith needs to be fired today.
Look at the Arthur Smith.
Needs to be fired now. Like, make the call now. Like, he is so bad.
I don't think I've seen you more adamant about something
anything
except that the Bengals need to draft offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And I was right about that. Yeah. I just dude, I'm just telling you, man. Like, look at this. They got Drake London. They got Kyle Pitts. They got Bijan Robinson. They got Jesse Bates. They got corner.
Jeff
Okudah, who he's okay.
They got Grady
okay.
Jarrett in the interior.
He's all right.
They got a really good guard. Well, he's not great, but with the value they got him for, it's fine.
It's not going to hurt.
Here's the thing: if the Lions are trading away a top 3 pick after what 3 seasons,
3 years,
there's a reason they're trading him.
But he's not going to hurt him.
No, he's not.
You gave up a 5th
they
round
traded
pick
him for a bag of
guy who's
chips,
picked
but
top 3.
Yeah, so it's like either way, he's
shown
depth
flashes
in the
of being
secondary.
good.
He brings in depth.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. So I think the Falcons, honestly, the Falcons with a new head coach and a compatible quarterback win the NFC South.
I agree.
So
they're gonna have to ride with Arthur Smith this year. They don't got any more options.
Unless they fire him midway through the season or something.
They have to fire him. They have to.
Yeah, I agree. Nick, do you have any other teams we didn't list?
I think we covered all the teams. I think Pittsburgh had a really great draft. We talked about that on the draft grades podcast. But other than that, I don't think there's any teams that we need to talk about in terms of having a great offseason. I don't think there were a ton of teams that had a bad offseason.
I think
at
everybody
all.
did pretty solid.
Yeah.
But there's definitely teams that did better than others.
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
That'll lead us into our next segment: Contenders versus Pretenders for the 2020. What is it?
2023.
2023-24 NFL season. This is also very early because obviously season hasn't even started.
There's nothing else to talk about.
Basically, we're in that weird dead period. But I'm just gonna list some names, and you guys will just give me if they're contender or pretender, and then a quick reason why, and we'll get on with it. All right. Let me just scroll up here real quick. Start in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills.
Contenders. Oh, come on.
I would say contender, but
You can't call them a pretender.
No,
they're
contenders.
They're gonna,
but
I was gonna say they're gonna go to the playoffs. They're probably gonna win. They're
we'll
probably gonna
we'll
win the
see.
division. Probably.
We'll see.
That one is a little up in the air, but they're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs.
I mean, Are we talking Super Bowl contenders, or are we talking
Super Bowl
playoff?
contenders.
Oh, Super Bowl contenders.
Well,
I might say pretenders.
I would say just playoff contenders.
If we're saying Super Bowl contenders, I might say Bills pretenders then.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about, Super Bowl.
We can do.
I thought we were doing playoffs, and that's why I said no. They were like,
what would you rather do, playoffs or Super Bowl?
I would do Super Bowl because if we're talking about playoffs, I think
a lot of different
majority
teams.
of teams could make the playoffs.
Okay.
All right, I guess we'll say
do
Super
Super
Bowl. We'll make it more interesting. Then I would say pretenders.
I would say pretenders.
Super Bowl
in terms of
pretenders.
Super Bowl.
I would say
think
pretenders.
that If the Bills' ceiling is absolutely Super Bowl champs with the amount of talent they have defensively and Josh Allen at the helm, but they're Josh Allen's I don't want to say he's too inconsistent, but they're pretty low.
They're pretty the Bills they're kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, they don't really have a rushing attack, or they haven't the past couple years. Von Miller getting hurt at the worst possible time kind of derailed their season. But
Even with Von Miller,
yeah, I don't know if they beat Cincinnati that day. They were firing on all fronts.
Even if the Bills have Von Miller, I still don't think they beat the Bengals in the playoffs.
But I mean,
So
at their ceiling, they can absolutely win the Super Bowl. But I'm just not confident enough.
I think ceiling they can win, but I don't think they're going to. So I'm gonna say pretenders.
All right, Miami Dolphins.
Super Bowl. See, this is another team like the Bills. For Super Bowl, I'm gonna probably say pretenders.
But playoffs,
Playoffs, yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs, I'd imagine. But I don't foresee.
I'm gonna also say pretenders. just because I don't know how Tua's going to be. Mm-hmm. But if Tua plays like, if he takes even another step, or even if he plays like he was playing before he had all those concussions last year, the Dolphins could absolutely make a run to win the Super Bowl. With Jalen Ramsey and all the additions that they have. All that firepower offensively.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of hard. Like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to say, like, they're going to win the Super Bowl, you know? Like, I don't
It's not a matter of are they going to win the Super Bowl. It's a matter
contend
of,
for it.
Yeah, do you think they're a serious, like, threat to win the Super Bowl?
I think I would agree if Tua's playing at the level that he was before his brain damage, yes.
Before his brain damage?
But
He's supposedly 100% healthy.
Yeah, he said he's 100% like good to
I
play
hope
football.
he is.
Yeah, for the sake of his health.
yeah, but I'm going to say Pretenders for the Dolphins. We'll call that.
Yeah.
All right, New York Jets.
I think Contenders. I'm banking on Rodgers playing like he has in the past, so I'm gonna say Contenders
I'm
for
going to
sure.
go with Contenders as well because I think the Jets have a proven foundation of great defense.
And now they have a great quarterback.
Yeah. And now they have a quarterback that has had playoff success in the past, but it hasn't really come to him truly in the past like decade. But I mean, Aaron
He's
Rodgers
still been top tier every single season except for like last year.
MVP winner 2 and 3 years ago, like absolutely contenders.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
for sure.
Baltimore Ravens.
They're Pretenders. They're not going to contend for the Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll go with Pretenders
He wanted
as
to
well.
say
I really
Contenders.
wanted to say Contenders.
I know you did, but I just no. I don't see that.
If their receivers can... Here's the thing for Baltimore. Lamar has to stay healthy. And like I've said numerous times in the past, if Lamar stays healthy, they can absolutely like make a run to the Super Bowl and win it. But that's like... 1 year, it's like, okay. 2 years in a row, it's like, this is becoming an issue. And now if it happens again, it's like, where do you go? Their receivers have got to come in and show out, though.
Dude, this is what I've been saying for the past year now with Lamar Jackson. The dude hasn't played in the playoffs the last 2 years. I mean, his past 2 seasons have been derailed due to leg injuries.
I don't think the Ravens have enough depth at receiver to truly
I don't think so
for a
either.
Super
Now,
Bowl.
I mean, they'll contend for the AFC North, but they aren't. No, not Super Bowl contenders. No.
Cincinnati Bengals.
We don't need to discuss this.
I think everybody already knows. Absolutely.
No, I'm just playing.
The Bengals are absolutely Super Bowl contenders.
They're
We don't
absolutely
need to go.
not.
We don't need to go into that.
We're also not going to discuss the Chiefs either because those are also contenders.
Yeah, the Chiefs are contenders.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm gonna say contenders.
I'm going to agree with you. I
I'm gonna say contenders.
truly think the Jags are contenders to win the
I
Super Bowl.
actually really like Trevor Lawrence, and with them getting Calvin Ridley, assuming Calvin Ridley is back to where he was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I like this Jags team.
They have a great foundation on
This
defense.
Jags team is going to easily win the NFC or the AFC South easily.
Disrespect. They should. They absolutely should.
So that right there, they're going to get a guaranteed 1 through 4 seed. I would almost guarantee.
If they can get a favorable draw in the playoffs, it reminds me a lot of the Bengals a couple years ago.
yeah,
Where it's like no one's fully taking them seriously, but then players start performing when it matters
and
most.
the Bengals that year had a pretty
really favorable schedule.
They had a favorable schedule, but I'm saying like
a favorable draw.
the playoffs, like
Yeah.
it kind of everything just kind of fell into how it should for them. So I think if that can happen to the Jags, absolutely.
I think the Jags are absolutely Super Bowl contenders, without a doubt.
That's an interesting one because I don't want to say that
Trevor
just
Lawrence
because
has got to take another step,
the-
and everyone else on defense has
like
got to take
the AFC, like I don't want that to be true just because of how, I mean, obviously, like you guys know, but like, and the AFC is so stacked, and it's like, well, shoot, that sucks for my team, but like, they absolutely are.
LA Chargers.
I'm gonna say Pretenders.
See, this is where we disagree because I think they're absolutely contenders to win the Super Bowl. If their team can stay healthy, they have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, by far.
They haven't been healthy for the past 2 years, so in my mind, it's similar to the Lamar Jackson thing. I was really high on the Chargers last year, and they profusely bit me in the butt. So
I had them going to the Super Bowl, and they kind of
Choke that.
underperformed.
Yeah,
But they were hurt though.
I know. I'm just
They were
saying.
also up by like 30.
I don't.
yeah, they were.
Justin Herbert.
Well, what are
is
your
that
stances?
guy.
You haven't been saying. What are your stances on these teams? You haven't said one yet.
I'm just being the host for this one. But
Well, I'd be interested to see what you got to say too, though.
for the Chargers, I don't think they're contenders.
I think the
Hell
Chargers.
take.
I'm interested to hear all of them, honestly.
All right. Do you want me to? I'll go through them
Yeah.
quick. You basically said everything. I was just playing host for this one, but I guess.
Well, I think you can get involved.
All right.
Why not?
Bills contenders, Dolphins pretenders, Jets contenders, Ravens pretenders, Bengals contenders, Jags contenders, and then Chargers pretenders.
So did you say?
I said the same thing as you did.
No, he said Bills contenders.
You flipped the Bills and the Dolphins because I said, or no, I said Dolphins are pretenders too, right?
Yeah.
I said Bills and Dolphins are both pretenders.
I don't know about
So
I don't know about the Bills.
he thinks contenders. We're both pretenders. You two think pretenders for Chargers. I think contenders. I think that's where we differ.
Well, you're just a big Herbert guy.
I'm not a big Herbert guy. I'm just tired of this narrative that
I'm tired of the narrative. Are you kidding
I'm
me?
tired of this narrative that he will never be a top tier quarterback because he can't get it done in the playoffs. Like he hasn't had one try. Peyton Manning lost.
He blew a 30-point lead in his first try.
Peyton Manning he lost his first 5 playoff games and he ended up with 2 Super Bowls by the end of his career.
Hey, I never once said that Herbert won't be an elite tier quarterback. I just think the whole Burrow-Herbert thing is where it's a little bit egregious.
Different discussion for a different day.
God, that could be a whole
That
podcast.
could be a whole podcast in and of itself.
A heated one at that.
Yeah. All right, Dallas Cowboys.
Pretenders. Every single year, it is
Yeah.
the same story.
Every single year is the same story. The NFC's so bad. Not bad, but it's significantly weaker.
It is bad.
But come playoff time, they're going to be competing with
Yeah, they'll-
Niners, Eagles, Vikings.
They'll find a way to blow it, so I'll go pretenders as well. Not sorry, Chase, but
no, they're pretenders. The Cowboys are pretenders.
I think they still have Dak at quarterback, but Michael Parsons is a
Keyshawn Johnson said Dak's better than Joe Burrow.
Keyshawn Johnson is
Keyshawn
Johnson is respectfully a moron.
That-
I'm not even a big Joe.
You hate Joe
I
Burrow.
hate Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you do.
I literally said he's the second best quarterback.
That doesn't
in the
mean you
NFL.
like him.
We've already talked about this.
Unbelievable.
That is an unbelievably bad take.
That Joe Burrow's the second best.
No.
Okay,
No!
Keyshawn Johnson one is bad. Yeah.
But, no, Cowboys easily pretenders.
Minnesota Vikings.
This one's
Pretenders.
interesting. This one's
Pretenders.
interesting. This one's
Absolutely.
interesting.
I don't even need to think about that.
With how weak the NFC is?
care.
I don't even think they're the best team in the division.
It's valid. I'll go pretenders as well.
I'd say,
But I do think the Vikings will make the playoffs. Let me get that in.
I'd say pretenders just because their quarterback is still Kirk Cousins. NFC South, they all suck, so we're not going to talk about them. NFC West, outside the Niners, all suck too. So.
Niners are
Niners are
contenders.
contenders.
Absolutely.
Say contenders or pretenders?
Contenders.
Contenders.
Okay, I thought you said pretenders.
Why would I say pretenders on the Niners?
The Niners
what?
are absolutely contenders.
I think that's it.
Eagles.
We didn't
that's
even
stupid.
mention. I guess the Eagles.
Eagles are definitely contenders.
What about the Lions? Guys, are you guys buying in the Lions hype train?
Did you say
the Lions are not Super Bowl contenders, but I can definitely see them making the playoffs.
I think that's fair. I don't think the
I,
Lions are
th-
contenders.
I think they will be second in the NFC North.
No, they're pretenders.
I can see.
They're Super Bowl pretenders, but I think they can be. I think they can.
They'll
make
make
it
the
to
playoffs.
they
Well,
were one game away from the playoffs this year.
They could make the playoffs. I could very well
got
see that,
better.
but I do not think they will be.
We'll
Super Bowl.
see if Dan Campbell can actually coach
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. But I
think
yeah.
we hit pretty much all of them, all the big ones.
I think we're. I mean,
Eagles pretenders.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Let us know who you have contenders, who you have as contenders or
Also,
pretenders.
Give us random questions to answer because we're kind of getting in that dead period.
it is a complete
Yeah.
dead period of sports.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there is nothing to talk
Like
about.
we've
right now.
we've got a bunch of content lined up, but like
It's just we.
Outside of like the NBA, there's really not much
Yeah.
to talk about. And the NBA is coming to a close here in the next couple
weeks.
Yeah,
So.
like we'll talk about anything, man.
There's going to be like a month or two period before training camp and whatnot where...
Well, it is the lunch table takes,
is the
so that
lunch
opens
table
it up
takes.
to other stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to get creative with it.
Yeah, but if you guys got any questions, just like fire away at the comments. We'll answer them on here for sure.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure to comment some stuff we should talk about. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Lucas, why don't you tell everybody, it was the time when you thought that you just ended my football career, like the
first practice.
First week
practice
of
we could hit.
practices.
It was the first practice we could hit, and
I think we were doing the one where like the linebacker like closes in and like hits like the running back.
yeah,
Like we were doing something like that.
and I was a linebacker,
And I
So,
was
like,
the running back.
yeah.
obviously.
So, like, it's just the drill. I'm supposed to go hit him, and do the drill, is go or whatever, and it's Evan. So I'm like, okay, like this is a little friendly rivalry here. I'm gonna go hit him. First day of practice.
Of course.
Each coach is just wanting to see who can tackle.
Yeah.
Like he just want to see who can physically do it.
Yeah.
And so Evan goes, and
like basically the drill is like I'm supposed to like walk and basically just like let you tackle me.
yeah,
Like,
it's just nothing crazy.
I'm just
It's
kind
like a
of
form drill.
yeah, but like you're supposed to kind of like wrap them up and like kind
Like
of
take
them
it, like
down.
wrap him up and take him down.
Yeah, but nothing crazy. So I do that. But when I hit him,
Kind of.
and he go kind of. I mean, I hit him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I tackle him, like I hit him, and once he hits the ground, I don't hear pads. I don't hear like helmets clacking. I don't hear like Evan like or anything. Like all I hear is his back snap. I just hear like this huge crack, and he goes, "Oh!" And then he just rolls over. I'm like, I think I just paralyzed him. Like I legit thought like he's not dead. I mean, he could die soon, but
That's what you're thinking about when you almost killed your best friend. Oh, he could die soon.
He's not dead, but he could
He's not dead, but he could die soon. This is dire.
I just thought like definitely something's wrong here. He's paralyzed. And I'm just like, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah." And just like rolls over, and I mean, he took some time, but he ended up being like he lived.
Basically,
alive.
yeah. Basically, what happened was he just like cracked my back for me, but it was like a lot harder than I expected it to be.
and I heard it.
Yeah,
It was
It
audible.
was yeah. I mean, he basically like laid on me.
Yeah.
Like so. But yeah. But Lucas for a period of time thought that he paralyzed me and ended my career. As
He's
a-
not
It's
dead.
gonna be awkward
He
walking
could
into his
die
dad's
soon.
history class tomorrow, knowing his paralyzed son.
And I'm just in like a wheelchair in the back. I can't move my arms or anything just because.
Dude, 8th grade Mr. Stacy's class was freaking legendary.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty. 8th grade year and all was just.
That was best. It was
Funny
probably
year,
one.
it was funny year.
Yeah.
That was a good year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the. I mean, that was first week, so we knew like that was gonna be a good year.
Mind you
But-
guys, I'm not like weak at all. Like I'm like a bigger dude. So like most of these stories of me getting like killed, but like I'm not actually like that weak. Like I'm actually like I hold my ground most of the time. There's people are bigger than me. Like look at like he's like about like broader and like stronger than I am, obviously. So
I am
like
thinking
mind you,
of-
this is like 8th grade, so I was probably
Yeah,
like
I mean,
we were all
we were-
pretty small.
We were all pretty small.
I haven't grown really since the 8th grade.
Yeah, you have.
I mean, a little, but I was a big guy in 8th grade.
Yeah.
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 I just don't want you guys to get the wrong idea, okay?
Well, Evan, I'm thinking of about 3 more times just off the top of my head where you got.
yeah. No, I can too. But that was my job in high school. I was an outside linebacker. My job was to put my inside shoulder, into the guy running straight at me.
The offensive lineman.
And make sure that they didn't go outside of me. So I was basically setting the edge, is what they call it. And so basically, yeah, I would, like, every time they ran a power, toss, anything my way, the pulling guard was headhunting me. And guards are usually big dudes.
Big boys.
Like, those are the bigger guys on the football team.
Big,
And
big
I'm
boys.
like, decently built, but I'm not
You're on a lineman side.
yeah,
So
I'm not
you're
massive
like
like
100
that.
pounds less than
So
us.
basically,
position
so
size.
basically,
Yeah.
I would either get kicked out by the honking fullback, or the offensive
Twice in a row.
Yeah, or the offensive guard. And so basically, I would just have to set the edge. And mind you, I was very good at setting the edge. Very little times did people
Had a
get
lot of
out.
practice.
Did people get outside of me? But sometimes I would get tossed on the ground and trucked, I guess. But they would go inside. So I did my job, but I paid for it.
Yeah.
I bet you did
Well,
your
as
job.
long as you did your job, man. That's
You're
all
just,
that
that's just a
matters.
winning football player.
Yeah.
That's just a sacrifice.
Just a guy
you
who
make.
wants to win
then
some
you-
ball
but then,
games.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
You're just trying
But
to go out
sometimes
here-
there's just pictures taken that look.
they were
like
the
you-
pictures
you're
were
dead.
taken at bad times. Okay?
I mean,
that
hey,
does not describe
it looks
the
like you're
entire
levitating.
time.
there are some guys on the football team that
I was not
they
a
just have
I was
to
not
die.
a I was
and
not
that's
a
Football.
As, you know, you're
Yeah.
playing the game of football.
You
I was
cracked
not a
your pads.
tackling dummy for people. Okay,
You're
I
trying
was.
to come out here and win. Win on the gridiron.
Yeah.
Some people
I
are
mean-
going to suffer for that.
I mean, I just had to put my shoulder in them and hope for the best. And sometimes it just didn't work out that way. You know, sometimes I ended up on the ground, and sometimes they ended up on the ground.
Yeah,
so
but
like.
we're gonna talk about the times you ended up.
Well, yeah, because those are the funny parts, you know? Nobody talks about the good stuff that you do. They only talk
Yeah,
about the bad,
exactly.
funny things that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they're caught on camera.
Yeah,
Or
all
on
of
yeah.
the bad ones are caught on camera, obviously.
That's how it always goes.
All right, do we have one more story before we wrap this segment up? Any other junior high football stories that come to mind that like we have to talk
Well,
about
there's
today?
there's two that come to mind. Maybe there's one with him
What was it?
where great wide receiver, but he had the most touchdowns on the team. Wide receiver, most receiving yards. He had the most yards like in touchdowns, but did not like to get tackled.
No.
And so when he was going to get tackled, he would run to
forgot
the
about-
sideline.
I forgot about this one.
And then if there were
still don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
if
yeah,
there
you
were
did.
guys
This was in
there,
8th grade, right?
he would run back around to the other sideline. And there
so
was
basically, didn't you play a little bit of like slot receiver at times?
I was a slot receiver. in
Yeah.
8th grade,
So we'd
yeah.
run like a screen or some sort of toss or whatever. I think it was on a jet sweep maybe. And Weaver would get it, and he would run. He'd run to the right, and everybody would close on him. He'd be
This
like,
only happened once.
yes.
You're making it
It
sound like it
happened
happened
twice.
twice. When was the second time?
When you were at quarterback, you rolled out this way and then rolled out again, and then went that way. It happened.
that
twice.
was in high school.
That was
But
freshman
in junior high, it happened once. So he got it, and he runs all the way to the right. And
Bunch of guys there.
Obviously, everyone's like coming with him, and he's
He
like,
doesn't want to get
And
hit.
he's like, all right, I either run.
I can make a play.
Yeah, he's either like, all right, I run out of bounds and don't get hit. That's A. B, I get hit and try to fight for some yards, like most football players do. Or C, I try to make the most out of this and run backwards.
I chose
And
C.
I chose C, and he goes from the sideline of the right side of the
Just
field,
sideline. Started
all
on
the
the side, ran
way,
this side, ran all the way back around.
bends it all the way to the left side, somehow gets free, and actually got a bunch of yards out of it.
It did work.
But you basically did a reverse by yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
kind of just ran around at that point.
Yeah,
You were
he
just
was
running
running
around.
around.
And somehow
He
they were
ran
catching
for
you.
60 yards to gain 6.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
If I
Basically
even
what
gained
happened.
6, it might have even been
Maybe like
less.
3. I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't much,
But
and
yeah,
I ran about 100 yards.
Yeah, back in junior high, you were
I
like,
was standing at quarterback. I remember like handing it off to him and then watching him run back.
you're like, what the heck is this guy
What's
doing?
going on?
I can't remember. I was probably blocking, and I probably just stopped blocking at some
Oh,
point. I was
I mean,
probably
at some
like,
point
screw
you can't
this.
block.
Like, I don't know what this kid's doing. I don't know.
I did have a bit of I had a bit of a problem in the 8th grade.
Yeah, you
about
got
not
you got
getting
better as you got older.
I got better as the season went on and as I got older, but I
Yeah.
did have a bit of a problem at the beginning of the year of just like not wanting to get
Hey,
hit.
it worked.
Yeah.
Somehow it worked out.
It got yards.
You got
It got
positive yards. You gave our coach a heart attack, but you
Yeah,
got
Hey, got
positive
about-
yards.
Maybe 1 or 2, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the only other story I can think of at the moment is our running back. Very good. He was probably our best player. He scored almost every game. A lot of touchdowns. Before the practice, I'm just standing in the locker room, and he comes and he thinks I'm new this year. This is 7th grade.
Oh, this was
This is
seventh
7th
grade.
grade. So this is 9th grade.
way
So I'm in,
back.
I thought this
I'm
was
new.
the 8th
This is
grade.
when I was a fullback.
Yeah. So I'm new to the school this year, and he thought it'd be funny, like, the new kid, whatever, to come and dead leg me. But he doesn't do it normally, like, he just kicks somebody back to the leg. He just tackles me where you're supposed to dead leg someone, and my back of my head touches my heels. And I'm just like, okay,
He's
like
like bent.
I'm like bent, and I'm not an easy guy to bend. So I was like,
He's also
okay,
not
like,
very bendable.
yeah, I'm not very bendable.
Not very
so,
flexible.
So I'm like it really hurt, and I was like, I could have just blown out both my legs. So like I'm not happy with him. And he just keeps doing stuff all warm-ups, all practice, keep making me mad. He's not running plays right one time. Like
You know,
on the
his
wrong
head
side.
is just not in the
He
game.
just wasn't
screwing
there.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
just
just
screwing.
he's just not focused. So I thought I'd take initiative myself to get him in check. And I didn't yell at him or
As
anything.
the quarterback.
As a quarterback, I'm a quarterback. I
As
hand
the
the ball off to
signal
him.
caller,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like,
The
I'm going to
leader
get him
of
in
this
check.
team.
I'm not going to yell at him. I'm not going to put his head back in place. I'm just going to do something and
I was going to take his kids away.
maybe. So I got the ball. He goes to hand off, and instead of handing off to like his chest, I was like, he's just making me mad. Like I want him to feel this one. So I wind up instead of just handing it off, and I just shove it right in his nuts. And he
full on,
He just
boom.
doesn't take the ball. He just goes and just falls to the ground. And I just stand there with the ball. I'm looking over him. I mean, I did the job. He didn't screw around anymore. I don't know if he
put him in
practiced
his-
the rest of the day, but he didn't
Put him
didn't
in his
screw
place.
around.
Put him in his
I put him in
place.
He
Took his
never
head out of his
messed with me
rear.
again.
That's one way to do it.
But I
That
did almost
was
take his
funny.
kids away.
Falls
Just
straight
drilled
to
him in the
ground.
balls.
Yeah, and I mean it was totally on purpose. But I bet it wasn't. I bet it didn't look like it was on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, he
To the
told
naked eye,
him
maybe
told him
not.
it like slipped or like
Yeah,
whatever.
I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry." Like that ball must have slipped or something.
But
I
you
mean,
were not sorry.
I mean, it was on purpose.
It was on purpose. He had to teach him that lesson.
Yeah, I mean, he had to stop.
You know,
screwing
because
around.
this guy, he's a great football player, but he did tend to kind of just screw
Mess
around.
around
you know,
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
mess
yeah.
around a lot.
Which was fun at times, but other times you need to be serious.
There,
Like you
there were
gotta.
times when it's like, hey, we gotta play football,
And he was serious.
and
after that.
and you put a ball in his nuts, and he was fine.
Yeah, just how it happened.
Exactly how it happened.
I mean, you'd rather that than just get in a screaming match with him. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't-
or we
Or
just.
get the coaches involved.
Yeah, we don't want to get
You
the
know,
coaches
what we should have
involved.
done, we should have just done Oklahoma, you two just go at it.
Oh, that didn't end well for some of our teammates.
No, we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, but that
maybe
was
in the next one. we'll
Yeah,
talk about
but
that.
we
that
should
was-
have done that. I've been happy with that.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
would have
it's-
actually been a good match.
I mean, you won. You didn't get hurt at all. and
No, I didn't get hurt
he
at
was
all.
on the ground for
Nobody
a
thought
while,
it was
so-
my fault. He was on the ground in immense pain, and it wasn't like.
I mean, I think you took the best route you could have taken.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you won.
I
think
do.
you
did
And I
feel-
think that was a
You-
necessary route.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Hey.
it wasn't like I killed him like you, but like
Yeah.
I
He's
gave
still
He
here.
ain't dead, but he
I
might
didn't
be
think.
soon.
Yeah, I didn't think that when I did. So I thought that on that one, but yeah, it's necessary.
Man, that's funny.
It was good old junior high days.
Yeah, we had a good football career in junior high.
Oh, we did.
Had
We were
some
good.
It was
some good
fun.
stuff.
Then I
It was
quit.
fun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
We had a few good stories from high school.
We got a bunch of stories from high school
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
will tell you guys.
We won't leave you disappointed on that.
Yeah, we'll tell you guys those on the next story time. But that's gonna wrap it up for this story time, I guess. If you guys like this,
Let us know.
yeah, because we want to
Let
do
us know if
we
you
want to do
like
we want to do a lot of these.
We're
It
going
was,
to do a
yeah,
lot.
it was pretty fun, and I think you guys really like this.
If
So,
you don't enjoy them, you're gonna watch them.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
if you don't like it, we're still gonna do it. So.
Yeah.
yeah, so, but yeah, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed.